At the shooting range, a group of white men loudly mocked a black woman, calling her too old, too black, and too weak to even hold a rifle. They didn't know they were ridiculing the most lethal elite sniper in U.S. military history. Within 48 hours, their careers, licenses, and reputations were destroyed. What started as racist humiliation ended with the collapse of an entire tactical training network and a brutal lesson in respect. On a sweltering summer Saturday, the sun scorched the cracked asphalt of the road leading to Sage Point Tactical Range, an exclusive, members-only shooting range tucked away in rural North Carolina. Vanessa Cole, 54, her dark skin gleaming, gray hair pulled back tightly, pushed open the heavy gates alone. The air reeked of hot metal and overblown egos. She wore dark jeans, worn boots, and a plain shirt. No flash, no fuss. And that's exactly why every head turned. The place felt like a power summit, suited-up executives in designer ballistic vests, flaunting rifles like they were Rolexes. They grinned at each other, talking loudly, chugging energy drinks like they were top-shelf bourbon. Then, laughter. Sharp, mocking guffaws, not even disguised. The first jab hit like a slap. "What's this? They let the janitor try out rifles now." Seconds later, a chorus of taunts rang out like gunfire. "She thinks she's in line for food stamps or what?" One sneered. "Somebody tell her this ain't the zoo," another jeered. "Here to peel bananas for us, huh?" A third roared, spitting on the ground. Vanessa didn't respond. She kept walking, spine straight, breath steady. But deep inside, something old stirred. She was the only woman, the only black person, the only one with crow's feet at her eyes, the only one without a uniform, a badge, or a formal invite. But she was also the only one with the look of someone who didn't need to prove a damn thing. They saw an old, out-of-place woman. Vanessa saw the range like a chessboard. Angles, escape routes, blind spots, shadows, everything was familiar. Sage Point's setup was state-of-the-art, surrounded by bulletproof glass observation booths and elevated demo platforms. American flags flapped in the background, trying to remind everyone this was still U.S. soil. But the way they glared at Vanessa screamed otherwise. She was an intruder, a smudge on the place's pristine white aesthetic. 2 camera drones buzzed over the range, recording the event for a private defense channel. One operator zoomed in on Vanessa's face and chuckled. "This is gonna be meme gold." She stopped by a wooden table where weapons were laid out like jewelry in a case. Nobody came near her. It was like her presence tainted the air. A young blonde shooter, decked out in a tight tactical vest and a cold stare, brushed past without even a nod. "Good luck, ma'am. Hope things don't get too dark for you out there." Vanessa didn't flinch. Her kind of composure wasn't learned on ranges like this. It was forged on the edge of places where death was a constant. The sky seemed to press down on her, but her posture didn't give an inch. She rolled her neck slowly, stretching. A group of young guys filmed her on the sly, snickering. "Caption it Voodoo Lady Lost in Texas. It'll go viral," one whispered. Another added, "Nah, Nanny's first day at paintball. It's gonna blow up." The laughter spread like wildfire. Vanessa stayed cool. Her fingers brushed the empty holster at her side, like they missed a gun she no longer carried. It was instinct, the reflex of someone who'd spent too long surrounded by hostility. Here, among steel signs and reinforced concrete, she knew this wasn't just about winning. It was about surviving the show. At the firing line, every name on the honor plaques was white, with short last names and fancy titles. Vanessa read each one like she was memorizing them. She didn't want to be here, but something pulled her into this space. Not pride, not revenge, but a quiet certainty that baffled even their anger. A silent assurance that, whether she liked it or not, she was about to change everything. A guy in a Confederate flag cap spat near her feet. "This is where woke crap comes to die, sweetheart." She ignored him, kept walking toward the range like she was crossing her own childhood, full of locked doors and eyes that said, "You don't belong." But now she did, at least for this moment. The sun glinted off her face. Some tried to follow her gaze but gave up. There was something unsettling about how she moved. Slow, steady, no hesitation. Like she knew exactly what she was about to do, even though she hadn't done it yet. And that rattled them. The wind picked up, like it was bracing for something nobody else could see. Vanessa adjusted her left sleeve, feeling cold sweat trickle down her back. On the surface, she was just another black woman out of place in a white man's world. But inside, the range was already hers. And soon, her name would be too. Brett Langley strolled into the demo area with the calculated swagger of a corporate shark. Tall, white, with artfully messy hair. He wore a light blazer over a Fortari's vest, blending boardroom and battlefield. Behind him, 2 assistants lugged an old rifle. "Let's give our guest a keepsake from our vintage collection," he said with a crooked grin. The crowd chuckled. This wasn't kindness. It was a staged humiliation. "Ms. Cole," he announced, loud enough for the drones to catch, "we've got something special for you." He held out the rifle like it was a dirty dish. A CBC Delta, 22 LR, outdated, no optic, with a visibly shaky trigger. Vanessa raised her eyes, sizing up the weapon like she'd spotted a trap. But she didn't hesitate. She took it calmly, under a wave of smirks. Someone muttered, "Gonna look like a monkey with a smartphone." Another laughed. "Hope she doesn't shoot herself." A drone circled slowly, catching every angle of Vanessa inspecting the gun. Langley stepped back, smug, standing next to a reporter. "Let's see what this museum piece can do in the hands of the cleaning lady." The laughter spread like sparks on dry grass. Vanessa walked to the firing line. The gravel under her boots crunched, amplifying the tension. Her hands, steady as ever, tested the rifle's weight, felt its imbalance, gauged the trigger's resistance. This wasn't new to her. This cheap trick was as old as dirt, but she knew the game here wasn't about hitting or missing. It was about dignity. The targets were lined up, from closest to farthest. Vanessa locked eyes on the last one, a small metal disc, 500 yards out, spinning lazily. She heard the muffled laughs. The plan was obvious. Hand her a junk gun, then mock her failure, and make it go viral. But nobody there knew she'd shot with less, and done far more. Brett crossed his arms and whispered to the guy next to him, "This'll be bigger than that Arizona shooter fiasco. No blood this time." He wasn't just after personal embarrassment. He wanted to cement his brand. Fortaris needed headlines. Turning Vanessa into a national punchline would be his perfect campaign. Worse, it was personal. The main camera, mounted on a mobile crane, zoomed in on Vanessa's face. She kept the same neutral, almost monk-like expression. She breathed through her nose, long and slow, counted seconds, felt the humidity, watched distant branches sway. It was like she saw the whole range as a tactical equation. The crowd, though, still just saw a black woman with a bad gun. "Come on, Rosa Parks of Kentucky, shock us!" someone yelled. Another chimed in. "Don't forget to pray first, Grandma." A third. "Should we call the paramedics now?" Vanessa's voice stayed silent. But in her head, the sound was different. The sound of discipline, silent training, missions that never existed. The war here wasn't new. Only the stage was. She shouldered the rifle, feet firm on the concrete base, Mauvais's her left hand, compensating for the faulty tilt. Her eyes found the target's center. So far it was barely visible to the others. To her, it was clear as day. Her mind calculated everything. Angle, gravity, drift, timing. She didn't need a scope. She was the scope. The first shot was crisp, no echo, just a clean slice through the air. Most didn't even see the bullet fly. But the impact, that was undeniable. The steel disc shuddered dead center. The white mark of the hit glowed against the dull backdrop. The crowd froze. The laughter died. Brett bit his lower lip. "Did you see that?" one guy muttered to another. That's gotta be luck." Vanessa reloaded, slow, deliberate. Her eyes shifted to a small steel plate at 100 yards, dangling by a wire. She aimed, not quite at it. The shot came with the same surgical silence. The bullet clipped the plate's edge and ricocheted. For a second, everyone lost track. Then, crack, a clay pigeon high above, launched by an auto-thrower, shattered mid-air. The ricochet had arced perfectly. The crowd went silent. The thrower operator choked on his own spit. A Marine vet lowered his phone slowly, like he'd seen a ghost. Brett didn't speak, just stared, jaw clenched, cheek twitching. The laughs turned to murmurs. The drones hovered like clueless bees, unsure if they were filming or fleeing. Vanessa lowered the rifle. No smile. "No thanks." Just walked back with the same calm as before. Each step felt like it crushed the egos around her. The ambient noise crept back. Nervous coughs, phones shutting off, scattered footsteps. Brett forced a smile, but his eyes betrayed him. He knew what had just happened. His plan had backfired, and more than that, someone meant to be forgotten had just become a living problem. On the live broadcast, the anchor tried to downplay it. A woman shows unsurprising accuracy here at Sage Point, but the commentators were stunned. That rifle, it's practically unusable without tweaks. one said. That's not luck. That's elite training. I saw something like that. Only once. In Baghdad. Social media was already buzzing. Vanessa grabbed her jacket, walked to the water fountain, ignoring every stare. Brett stood frozen, eyes on the gravel. One of his security guys leaned in and asked, "Sir, what the hell was that?" Brett whispered, almost to himself. That was a ghost, a specter. But deep down, he knew it was someone he'd tried to erase. And while everyone scrambled to process what had just happened, a young journalist watched the footage from across the state, eyes wide, face pale. She knew that woman, or thought she did. She was something far more dangerous and far more legendary than anyone there could imagine. Ava Monroe sat in her cramped office in downtown Raleigh, eyes glued to her laptop screen. The 28-year-old journalist, known for investigative pieces on police corruption, hit play on the viral video for the third time. A black woman, gray hair, stone-faced, shredding targets with a junk rifle at Sage Point Tactical Range. But what gripped Ava wasn't the feat itself. It was the woman's face, a face she knew better than anyone. She paused the video on the exact frame, zoomed in, blinked slowly. The caption in the corner read, "Unknown 54-year-old stuns shooting elite," Ava whispered. No way. The woman the media was trying to turn into a meme was the same one who taught her to ride a bike, who brewed coffee with cardamom on Sundays, who claimed she'd worked supply logistics in the army. Vanessa Cole, her adoptive grandmother, the most private person she'd ever known. As a kid, Ava was curious about everything, but there was one room Vanessa always kept locked, the closet under the stairs. When Ava was little, she tried to open it once and froze when she found guns, old maps, and a box of torn photos. After that day, she never tried again. Vanessa never yelled, but her silence could deafen, especially when she said, "Some stories we bury for safety." But now, one of those stories was out in the open, and in front of millions. Ava opened her forensic search software and started building a dossier. She scoured military records, veteran archives, classified databases, but there was almost nothing. Vanessa Cole's name popped up in a basic file. No specialties, no missions. That was odd. Either she lied, or someone scrubbed everything. She dug deeper and found an anomaly. A deployment document with codes that didn't match a logistics soldier's profile. Redacted lines, blank fields, and a stamp. Level 6, post-operational reclassification. That wasn't standard, not even for special forces. Next to it, a cryptic, italicized term, Echo 0. And below, a digitally erased name. Ava applied a contrast filter. The word emerged, Spectre. Her heart raced. Ava sensed she'd stumbled into something bigger than a story. She searched obscure forums, military whistleblower sites, and archived files from ex-officers. It took days, but she found a hidden trail, reports of an experimental unit of minorities, trained outside normal protocols, sent on missions that never happened. Echo 0. A woman was mentioned in the accounts, though never by name. The descriptions were vague. She was a shadow, left no trace. The enemy never saw where the shot came from. A post by a Texas intelligence sergeant mentioned a nickname 3 times, Spectre. Ava started connecting dots. The silence, the scars, the eyes that never blinked under pressure. The woman who raised her wasn't just ex-military. She was a trained weapon, a legend disguised as a grandmother. On impulse, Ava called Vanessa, straight to voicemail, tried the landline, busy. Texted, "We need to talk. It's serious." No reply. She opened the old safe she'd once cracked as a kid. Inside, she found a pendant with the American eagle, but the eagle's eyes were covered by a black band. She'd never noticed that before. It was the unofficial crest of ghost missions. The world saw Vanessa as a fleeting curiosity, but Ava, in that moment, knew the video had awakened something dangerous. And if Vanessa was trained to vanish, being back on the radar could put her in danger. Ava felt she had to dig deeper, fast, before someone else got there first. She traced the broadcast of the range event, found it was sponsored by a private defense firm, Fortress Defense Systems. The name rang a bell, but she wasn't sure why. One thing was clear. If someone there wanted to bury a past, they'd have plenty of reasons to move quickly. Ava spent the night cross-referencing Fortaris with covert ops. With every link, every archived photo, every redacted name, the line between truth and cover-up thinned. When her eyes finally shut from exhaustion, Vanessa's video was still looping on the screen. And for the first time, Ava didn't know if she felt pride or fear. Brett Langley switched off the TV without a word. The clip of the black woman nailing 2 impossible shots had spread like wildfire through defense industry circles. This wasn't just a stunt, it was a warning. He knew that kind of shooting, knew that stance, knew that woman, but he needed to confirm something before he panicked. In Fortaris Defense Systems' panoramic office, he typed Vanessa Cole into a restricted military records terminal with biometric authentication. The initial results were generic: logistics, tech support, supply base in northern Texas. But when he dug deeper, the system froze. 3 words flashed in red: restricted access, Echo class. Brett cursed under his breath. That designation hadn't been used in years. He leaned back in his leather chair, staring at the ceiling. His mind dragged him to a sore spot. Congo, 1998. A botched mission meant to be erased from history. A village overrun by militias, kids with rifles in their hands. Brett had clear orders: ignore and head to the extraction point. But someone disobeyed. Someone entered the field and pulled the kids out one by one, taking out the militias in total silence. That someone was Vanessa Cole. Back then, Brett was just an ambitious tactical operator. She was a shadow outside the official chain of command. He climbed the ladder, signing billion-dollar government contracts. She vanished, dropped off the grid like she'd never existed, until now. And the worst part? Vanessa hadn't changed. Not physically, not in precision, not in silence. That scared him. Her public reappearance after decades could ruin everything. Fortaris was about to launch its next-gen autonomous weaponry, the Hawkeye Agenda 7 AI system, a project that hinged on credibility, security, and secrecy. The problem? Part of the tech was inspired by, and partly stolen from, tactics observed in Echo Zero's covert ops. If her name surfaced, dangerous questions would follow. Brett knew how to play the game, knew how to spin a narrative. The next day, he called a press conference. Sitting in front of flags and cameras, he spoke firmly. Ms. Vanessa Cole gave a curious performance, but Fortaris values responsibility. We'll soon launch an official veterans competition with transparent technical assessments. We're inviting everyone, including her. He smiled. The trap was set. The invite looked like an honor, but it was a carefully crafted sham. Brett planned to rig the gear, manipulate the media, use broadcast drones with signal delays. Any mistake she made would be looped, edited, ridiculed. He didn't just want to erase Vanessa. He wanted to humiliate her publicly, turn her into a fluke, not a legend. Deep down, though, Brett wasn't just angry. He was scared. He didn't know how much she remembered, didn't know who she still talked to. The mere mention of Echo Zero in online forums was already drawing too much attention. If Vanessa spoke, or worse, acted, contracts would be cancelled, investigations would open, and the name Langley would go from CEO to defendant. While he prepped the competition, he ordered Hawkeye project files wiped from the main servers, changed passwords, beefed up security, authorized internal sweeps. But even with every precaution, he felt a constant chill on his neck, like he was being watched, like the prey already knew exactly where the hunter stood. He hired a digital reputation team to seed doubts about Vanessa online. Fake comments popped up in forums, claiming the video was doctored, that she was a paid actress, a political plant. But nothing stuck. Her eyes in that footage, you couldn't fake that. It was the look of someone who'd killed without raising her voice. Meanwhile, in rural North Carolina, Vanessa watched the press conference with a mug of tea in her hands. No anger on her face, just focus. Every word from Brett was predictable. Every sentence, a mirror of tactics she knew better than anyone. She didn't need time to respond, because she'd been moving long before he opened his mouth. News of the competition spread like brushfire through military forums and defense networks. But while the spotlight aimed at Brett Langley, Vanessa Cole was already off the grid. On a deserted road in the Blue Ridge Mountains, she drove an old pickup with a cracked dashboard. Radio off, mind racing. Time seemed to pause out there. But inside her, everything was urgent. She stopped at an abandoned toll booth, hidden by branches and vines, pulled a rusted keychain from her pocket and unlocked a side grate. Walked through a damp, silent tunnel to a metal door with a digital reader, pressed her thumb. The light flashed green. An underground bunker opened. Not a hideout, a command center. And its name was etched at the entrance. Spectre Safe House. The bare concrete walls held maps, old monitors, crates of weaponry under tarps. At the back, a desk with classified files. She slid open a hidden drawer and pulled out an analog phone, shielded by a metallic film, dialed slowly, a number she hadn't used in years. The voice on the other end answered without a greeting. A brief silence. Then, "Took you long enough." On the line was Darius Flint, officially dead in 2008 during a mission on the Afghan border. In reality, gone by choice. One of the last living members of Echo Zero. He'd vanished after exposing illegal executions by private security firms, many now tied to Brett Langley. His voice was older but still sharp. "It's time, isn't it?" he said. She replied. They opened the door. Now they'll see what's behind it. Together they activated old emergency protocols buried in military databases, not regular digital files, encrypted layers embedded in forgotten government systems, like coded ghosts. Each login unlocked more puzzle pieces, and more names of Echo Zero members surfaced. But a grim pattern emerged. Almost all were dead. Accidental falls, fires, fake overdoses, silenced. Vanessa read each one. Locations, dates, forged reports. No coincidences. Every death lined up with Fortaris's contract moves in key regions. Darius cross-referenced the data with government deals. They realized Fortaris was erasing Echo Zero's traces to secure a monopoly on next-gen smart weapons. Vanessa wasn't a nuisance. She was the last link they couldn't break. Meanwhile, Ava Monroe was accessing her files when her laptop crashed. Blue screen, fans screaming, a red code blinked, remote override detected. She yanked the cords and sped to a convenience store using public Wi-Fi to check her cloud backup. What she saw confirmed the worst. Someone was trying to erase her work, but she had physical copies, and she wasn't alone anymore. Vanessa sent her to the safe house, left a coded key hidden in an old book, the same one she used to read to Ava as a kid. Inside a secret compartment, the address. Ava arrived at the bunker by late afternoon, sweaty, shaking, but resolute. When the metal door opened and she saw her grandmother standing there, assembling a panel of classified data, her world flipped. "You were a legend, and I had no idea," she said. Vanessa replied, "Now you need to be part of it." Inside, they built the plan, gathered evidence, mapped connections, pinpointed Fortari's warehouses used as fronts for illegal tests. Vanessa knew Brett was setting a trap, and the competition was just the start. But she wasn't going to get caught. She was going to expose everything. Justice wouldn't come from a courtroom. It would come from the light. By the end of that night, while commercial satellites saw only quiet forests, 3 devices activated silently. A stealth drone climbed, invisible to radar. Hidden cameras began streaming to a private network of retired military. Vanessa's message was clear. The legend didn't die. It was just waiting for the right moment to activate. The next morning, the Blue Ridge Mountains were cloaked in fog, but thermal sensors didn't need visibility. 3 black vans crept up a narrow dirt road, each loaded with drones, directed energy weapons, and tracking rifles. In the back, mercenaries from Fortaris's Ghost Unit reviewed the plan. "Target's an old black woman. Shouldn't need bullets," the leader said, laughing. "If she runs, just follow the hair grease." The mission seemed straightforward. Infiltrate, neutralize, extract any sensitive data before it leaked. But they didn't know the terrain, or who they were hunting. A younger merc glanced at the dossier with a smirk. "This lady? For real? Looks like the base cafeteria auntie." Another laughed. "What's next? She gonna hex us with some African mojo?" Their laughs sliced through the dark like blades. None of them took Vanessa seriously. Around the safe house, homemade sensors kicked on. Tripwires with bells, inverted thermal traps, camouflaged mirrors. Vanessa didn't need drones. She had the land, the silence, and time. While the mercs fanned out, she watched on internal monitors. Every blind spot they missed. They'd walked into her game without realizing the field was already a coffin. Darius Flint lay prone on a ridge, nestled in bushes with an old M40A5. The rifle still sang like the old days. "Pincer movement. Sector 4, he whispered into the radio. Ava, secure inside the base, activated the encrypted feed. Footage began streaming to a hidden network. The world would see it all. Vanessa's legacy wouldn't be erased. Not this time. The first merc tripped a pressure trap. A sedative dart pierced his vest, dropping him mid-spin. The others pressed forward. "What? She got jungle traps out here? Thinks she's back in the Congo?" One snapped, pissed. Another growled, "I'll send this monkey straight to the zoo." Their anger grew as they realized they were being hunted. Vanessa moved like a shadow through the trees, black cloth over her face. In her hands, a short-bladed knife and a stick with signal jammers. Passing a drone, she raised her arm. The signal cut out. The device spun, lost altitude, and smashed into a tree. The mercs cursed. "How's this black chick doing this? Not even our Middle East guys pull this off." Their hate came from fear. She disabled 2 scanning cameras with a foldable mirror, planted thermal noise with a hot water bottle and an old jacket. The men rushed the wrong spot. When they got there, a cloud of homemade chemical smoke engulfed them. One yelled, "I can't see shit, 11! Must be some witch doctor laughing at us from her hut!" The chaos turned to panic. They weren't ready. Darius took out another with a non-lethal shoulder shot. Vanessa slipped behind one, snapped the radio off his belt, and whispered, "Keep it down." The ground's listening. He blacked out seconds later. Ava, from the base's hub, ran the cameras, broadcasting the invaders' faces live. Social media was already spreading it. They tried to take her. She took them first. One of the last men scrambled to a cliff's edge. Gasping, he radioed, "This ain't human. She's not just some old black lady. She's the devil." Brett, listening from the monitoring hub, clenched his fists. The plan had gone from bad to public disaster. He ordered a retreat. Too late. Vanessa stood atop the ridge, still, holding the jammer stick. The sun was rising. The fog glowed orange. Darius flanked her, earpiece crackling. Clean feed. Got it all. Audio, faces, plates, IDs. Vanessa stared at the horizon. Now the world knows what happens when you try to bury someone who never died. Inside, Ava panted at the screens. Every frame was sharp. The faces, the slurs, the blows. No filters, no edits. Raw, violent, liberating truth. For the first time, she grasped the weight her grandmother carried, and why her smiles were so rare. Her silence was always strategy. Now, it was also vengeance. The encrypted feeds were mirrored by ex-military, indie journalists, and digital activists. On X, Reddit, YouTube, Spectre returns blew up like dynamite. Fortaris scrambled into damage control. Vanessa didn't celebrate, just sat on a rock's edge, cleaning her blade. The war started years ago. She was just returning fire. 2 days after the safe house clash, Vanessa parked a black sedan quietly outside Fortaris's Arlington headquarters. She wore a dark blazer, formal slacks, and a scarf over her gray hair. In her hands, an aluminum briefcase with a biometric lock. She walked in unchallenged. Nobody expected her to dare. At the front desk, confused glances tried to place her, but she was already inside. She rode the elevator to the 19th floor where the board was meeting. Nobody noticed the device she slipped under the main table. Minutes later, as executives debated crisis containment, the room's TV flicked on by itself. Brett Langley's face froze. Sound kicked in. Voices, images, scanned documents, audio, all streaming live to the world. The evidence she and Ava had compiled for weeks. Confidential reports showed Brett siphoning public funds, AI weapons tests on foreign civilians, spreadsheets detailing payments for veteran asset removal, emails calling Echo Zero, an obsolete issue to be terminated. It was all there. Fortaris tried to kill the system, but backups were on external servers, and journalists were already in the building. Within hours, the scandal dominated the news. Headlines everywhere. CEO accused of covert murder, illegal arms use. Secret unit confirmed. Echo Zero existed and was betrayed. Human rights groups demanded global investigations. Brett was cuffed, leaving the building, face slick with sweat. He tried shouting, "She's a fraud," but nobody bought it anymore. The truth had a face now, hers. The Department of Defense, under global pressure, went public. An official statement acknowledged Echo Zero's existence and confirmed Vanessa Cole, codename Spectre, was the unit's most precise tactical agent ever. Decorated in missions never disclosed, silenced by the system now crumbling. For the first time, the nation heard her name with reverence. Vanessa didn't give interviews, didn't post. She just vanished again. By choice this time. She'd left her message. Didn't want fame. No red carpets. No statues. Just wanted nobody to ever laugh at what she stood for again. And most of all, that no one would dare doubt a black woman's ability because of her skin, her age, or her silence. At shooting ranges across the country, young black women started training quietly. In military classrooms, Spectre became a case study, not as myth, but as legacy. And whenever someone tried to mock a woman like Vanessa, someone now answered, "Watch it. She might be way more than you can see." Because real justice doesn't shout, it shoots, and it never misses. Do you think she should forgive or stay silent? What would you do if they laughed at your skin color and your age in public? It's super important that you drop your comment. You won't believe the twist that went down in this other story popping up on your screen. Check it out right now.